You need these kitchen hacks if you want to make your life easier. Number one is to double or even triple your batch cooking. Next time you make your favorite soup, pasta sauce, stir-fry sauce, whatever it is, go ahead and make a double batch, or honestly, even a triple batch. It doesn't take that much more time to do in the moment. Once you have all the ingredients out, it's just doubling or tripling the quantities. And trust me, it will save you so much time in the future. Leftovers can, of course, be frozen, and then whenever you need a meal in a pinch, go ahead and take them out of the freezer, defrost them, and you're ready to go. Plan wisely. If you plan meals that share common ingredients, you can use them in different ways throughout the week. So for example, if you have a couple different recipes using up sweet potatoes, you can go ahead and prep all of those together on your meal prep day, use them up throughout the week, and that way you have less items to prep overall on your prep day. Seasonal ingredients are a great way to do this. For example, there's a lot of squash and pumpkin in the stores right now. So what I like to do is plan a few different recipes that will use up a butternut squash, and that way I'm not just preparing a whole butternut squash just for one recipe. I'll be able to use up in many different recipes throughout the week. In fact, if you need some squash inspiration in particular, I'll leave some of those recipes down below. I have quite a few. Kitchen inventory. Before grocery shopping or even meal planning, go ahead and consult what you already have in your kitchen first, and that way you avoid buying duplicate items. On my kitchen inventory, I do one for my pantry, my fridge, and my freezer, and I also like to include expiration dates on there so I know what needs to be used up first. In fact, if you want a free copy of the kitchen inventory that I use, it has pantry, fridge, and freezer on there and a place for expiration dates. Go ahead and check out the link below. I will send you guys one for free. So this is really good, like I said, to keep track of items that need to be used up right away, and also to make sure you avoid buying duplicates at the store. But it's also a really great place to start with your meal planning. You can go through your kitchen inventory, see what you already have, and base some of your meals around those items. And as you're doing your kitchen inventory, if you have a couple items that you maybe bought for a particular recipe and now you're not sure how to use them up, that's when I like to hop on Google and just type in vegan plus the ingredient that I want to use up and then the word recipe, and that'll come up with a lot of different ideas on how to use up that particular ingredient in a vegan recipe. Or leave it in a comment down below and maybe our community here can help you out using up that ingredient. Label and date. This is one that I am guilty of not doing on a regular basis, but it's a really good habit to get into. Especially if you're utilizing the freezer a lot, you're going to want to label anything that you have prepped before it goes into the freezer so that you remember what date it was made and or what date it needs to be used by. You can easily do this with just some label stickers or masking tape, or actually I've seen those washable pens that work really well on glass containers. And this is really helpful as your freezer inventory gets a little bit bigger. You'll want to make sure you're using up those older items first. So if you have the date it was made or date it expires and the label of what's inside, then it'll really help you as you're looking for something to eat. Repurpose leftovers. I love to get creative with leftovers. I actually have a video about doing that. I'll link that one down below as well. But leftovers can also be a really great way to try out a new recipe. Let's say you cooked a big batch of chickpeas and you've already used them up in the recipe you had planned for the week, but there are so many other recipes that you can use chickpeas in. Sandwiches, salads, wraps, even desserts. Herbs can also be repurposed. A lot of times I will buy a specific herb just for one recipe and then I have a bunch of that herb left over. So those can be repurposed by either freezing them in water or veggie stock, or just repurposed later that week into another dish. Like I said, I will just hop on Google and find ways to use them up. Invest in quality containers. I used to always use those plastic food storage containers because they're lightweight and they're pretty inexpensive. But once I invested in some good quality glass containers, I did notice a difference in how long my produce was lasting and even just my leftovers in general. So airtight containers, of course, can keep food fresher longer. And the glass ones are really great because it's really easy to wash them all in the dishwasher. I also like having containers of a few different sizes. Of course, the large ones I'll use for batch prepping, either beans or grains, or a lot of times I'll actually keep my veggies in here. And then the smaller ones are actually perfectly sized for individual meal portions. So if I do a meal prep and I want my ready to go meals already portioned out, I have a couple different sizes to choose from for that as well. So these are really great to just grab out of the fridge with your meal already inside. You can reheat them in the microwave, of course with the plastic lid off. You can also bake directly in the glass if you wanted to do a couple different meals of roasted veggies or baked oatmeal or something like that. So I'll link ones similar to these in the description box in case you want to check them out. Pre-chopping. If you really want to save time throughout the week, try pre-chopping your onions, your garlic, or any other frequently used ingredients. For garlic, I actually like to just peel my cloves and leave them whole in the fridge, and that way they're ready to mince, or I usually just use the garlic press. Or if you wanted wanted to do a really big batch of chopped garlic, I like to do that in the food processor and then add the minced garlic into an ice cube tray. Or if you don't have an ice cube tray, you can actually just measure out a tablespoon or a teaspoon onto a parchment lined baking sheet and go ahead and freeze that. And then you'll have perfectly portioned out amounts of minced garlic whenever you need it. You can also do this with onions, ginger, or even juice. Basically, whenever I buy a bag of lemons or limes, I go ahead and juice everything at once and add it into an ice cube tray, freeze it, and that way whenever I need fresh juice, I can just pop out a couple cubes and let them defrost. Bonus tip, if you are doing lemons or limes, you can actually zest them first and freeze the zest as well. The freezer is your friend. Speaking of the freezer, I love to create my own freezer meals. You guys probably know, if you've watched my channel for a while, that I like to make doubles and triple batches of everything and just freeze it. But if you're the kind of person who wants a pre-portioned out meal in particular, you can freeze those as well. You can do this with curries, with soups, with stews, with casseroles. Again, just use a single serve storage container to portion out one serving or however much you want, and then pop that into the freezer. And anytime you need a single serve meal, you have one ready to go. I also like to keep a lot of frozen fruits and veggies in my freezer to have on hand in case I need them in a pinch to add to a recipe. If it's the end of the week and I've used up all of my fresh items, but let's say I need a vegetable to add to a soup or even just on the side of a meal, then I'll likely have something in my freezer ready to go that I can just defrost and add into the meal. Some of my favorites to keep on hand are things like riced cauliflower, frozen edamame, frozen peas or corn. I also use a lot of frozen berries, and as a bonus, frozen is usually less expensive as well. Cook grains and beans in batches. Don't just make a single serving or enough for that meal. Go ahead and make a larger quantity. Rice, quinoa, pasta noodles, all of those can be used in multiple ways throughout the week. Again, it does help if you kind of plan out a couple different ways to use them, but batch cooking grains and beans in particular is one of my favorite things to do on meal prep days. It just saves me so much extra time because a lot of the beans and grains do take a long time to cook. So things like oatmeal, something that we eat almost every morning, I'll make a big batch on either Sunday or Monday, and we'll eat that throughout the week. Pasta noodles, this is actually my husband's favorite hack. He's like, why are you only making half the bag? Just cook the entire bag of pasta noodles. You won't have to cook any more noodles for the rest of the week, and there are a bunch of different ways to use them up. Cooking beans from scratch also takes a long time, so this is another great one to do in batches, and then you can actually freeze these in smaller quantities and take them out and defrost them as needed, because really when you need cooked beans, usually you don't have time to wait like the hour that it takes to cook them in the Instant Pot. And actually, if you want to learn how to cook your beans from scratch and keep them in the freezer in batches, I do have a video for that as well. I'll link it down below. Plan themed days. This is a really fun way to mix it up with meal prep if you're kind of getting into a monotonous, boring routine and you need some different meal ideas. So designating different days for different themed meals, for example, Taco Tuesday, you can do Stir Fry Thursday, Pizza Friday, any kind of themed day you want to do will work here. But basically, this just takes the thinking part out of meal planning. All you need to do is come up with a couple different themes and some recipes for those themes and assign them to a certain day. Actually, let me know in the comments down below if any of you do this already. This is something that we don't do that often in this house, but I kind of like the idea. I'm curious if any of you have tried it, and if you have, which days do you like? Which themes do you usually use? Get in a routine. Dedicating a specific day or days to do your grocery shopping and your meal prepping can really make sure you start off your week on the right foot. I personally usually like to do Sundays for my meal prepping, and I'll either do the grocery shopping right before or even the day before. And just having this routine of doing the meal prep every Sunday really turns it into a habit. It's something I no longer have to think about, have to stress about, or plan. It's just part of the routine. Now, when I say meal prep, it doesn't have to be super extravagant where you plan out each and every meal for every day for the upcoming week. I actually like a very flexible kind of meal planning. You can do something like a wash and chop where you just wash and chop your veggies so that they're ready to use throughout the week. You can do a batch prep or ingredient prep where you prepare some beans and grains or some protein like tofu or tempeh or seitan, and having those cooked items ready as part of your prep is really helpful too. Or of course, you can do the specific meal prep if you have some recipes in mind and you want to make those so that you can really take the thinking out of your cooking for the next few days. So of course, you guys know I am all about the meal prep in whatever form you decide to do it in. If you do want more info on how to meal prep, of course, I have a lot of videos on this channel all about it. and I'm actually going to be launching the Let's Eat Plants meal prep course in the next few weeks for the last time this year. So if you do want a step-by-step guided program that teaches you all of these different ways to meal prep, then make sure you're on the waitlist for the course. I will link it down below. Don't forget to prep some snacks. I think snacks are easily one of the most overlooked parts of a meal prep, but they are very important if you're trying to eat healthy. You can cut and portion out fruits, vegetables, nuts, hummus, energy balls, etc. Portion them out in your storage containers, and then you have snacks ready to go throughout the week. This will really save you, like I said, if you are trying to eat healthy and you keep reaching for that bag of chips or whatever your favorite snack is, and you do want to swap it for a healthier option, it really does help just to be prepared. And if you do need snack ideas, don't worry, I've got you covered there as well. I'll link that video down below. Homemade spice blends. This is something I never used to do before, and then I realized I was wasting so much time taking out little individual spices just to make the right spice blend, especially for recipes that I make over and over and over again. Why am I not just combining all of these spices into one spice blend? It doesn't make any sense, right? For our morning oats, we always use chia and flax. I used to keep them in separate containers. So you can actually combine those together, and then you have your chia and flax blend. You're only taking out one jar every time you need to add some to your oats. This also works really well for things like tofu scramble or tofu chorizo. I was always using the same spice blends over and over and taking out a few different jars with those spices in them every single time. So just combining them all into one spice blend makes a lot more sense. We just want to work smarter, not harder here. Prep your breakfast for faster mornings. If you're always rushed in the mornings, this one's for you. Try making a week's worth of breakfasts for quick and nutritious meals. Some prep ahead meal ideas that I like are smoothie packs, freezer waffles or pancakes, freezer breakfast burritos, overnight oats, and hot oats or breakfast quinoa, which can also be made ahead and frozen individually if needed. Let me tell you, it is such a game changer not to have to prepare anything in the morning, just to have your meals grab and go ready. You might even be able to sleep in a little bit longer or get something else done like a quick workout. Wash and chop your veggies in advance. If you are trying to eat healthy, if you are trying to eat more vegetables, the biggest hurdle to that is washing and chopping the vegetables when it is dinner time and you are hungry and you want to eat right now. At least it was for me. So honestly, for me, one of the easiest ways to make sure that I eat my veggies is to wash and chop them. That way, when you're ready to make a meal, your veggies are ready to go, and I guarantee you are much more likely to use them. Actually, if you want a better idea of how I do this, how I wash and prepare everything and actually use them up throughout the week, check out this video here. This is a really good overview of the whole entire batch prep system. But even if you only have time to wash and chop your veggies, I promise it will make such a difference throughout your week. If you've never done it before, give it a try this week and let me know in the comments, how did it go for you? Did it save you time and did it make a difference?